The first thing that I wanted to say was the extent to which the city, led by Deputy Mayor Gibbs, is supportive of the efforts of the state and supportive of Jason. I mean, I come to these conferences with him when I can because sometimes they're very inspirational, and that's kind of remarkable to say about a bureaucrat or, you know, sorry, Jason, but that's what we are. But the fact is that the mayor and the deputy mayor were big participants and supporters of the MRT, believed that this transformation was necessary, and the move toward managed care was an essential part of that transformation, and that the savings were part of the deal as well. And we in social services at HRA, we see the enormous way in which the Medicaid program dwarfs everything else in the world. And so this reinvestment of savings in supportive housing is something we are absolutely supportive of, and the deputy mayor pushed for also extremely hard. In addition to our support and participation, and I also want to credit the state and the MRT process. You know, I had staff, Mary Harper and Dr. Lipton and myself. There are people all over city government participated in the subgroups, and I think we'd have to say unequivocally, we were listened to, we were taken into account, our issues were considered, and sometimes we won the debates. And I think that that is a great credit to the process that you've led, Jason. And I think it's going to get harder. I think it's going to continue to be a dialogue and a work in progress all the time. And that leads to the city's local role at HRA and the Department of Social Services. We have a long-standing involvement and commitment to supportive housing in our HASA program. This summer, we're going to release an RFP for another 394 New York 3 units. We're very eager and excited about that. And we've also played a large role through Dr. Lipton's team in the application process for eligibility for New York 3, and I think a successful role, and one in which people have appreciated, and one that I think we should look carefully at as we go forward. And that leads to sort of the unresolved issue of some of the transformation, and that is, what is the role, broadly speaking, of the local Department of Social Services in determining eligibility for Medicaid and in coordinating care across other programs within our world, adult protective services, HASA, food stamps, cash assistance. There's a lot of coordination that goes on there, and as we move away from a fee-for-services local Department of Social Services role and gatekeeper role to a managed care world, there's a great deal of concern that that coordination will be lost. And I think we're involved in the conversation. Mark Kissinger and yourself and others are definitely listening, but we all have to work on this carefully, because clients in particularly vulnerable situations are going to be at risk if we're not careful. And I think we have to just constantly focus on that portion of our caseload. I should also say that I agree with Adam. I think the sharing of data, the creation in New York City of HHS Connect, which is a way in which, under Deputy Mayor Gibbs, we are now sharing across agencies much more data about all of our clients, is going to be very, very important. And we've got to be really willing to push the envelope on that, because we'll be able to, I think, serve clients in a managed care environment much more successfully if the entities that are in charge of that managed care and are managing that managed care can have access to information about where people are and what their conditions are and what their eligibility is or use of various other forms of public service. And then finally, going forward, I have to tell you that in the world of HRA, we are often in the transformations that we're most directly involved in a room where we're there with the state, and we're there with ourselves, and then we're there with the managed care entities that are going to take on this responsibility. And there's a little bit of rivalry and a little bit of tension. And we know that the promise is both better care and better outcomes, but it's also lower costs. And we worry a little bit, just from our perspective, that you get sort of, it's a bait and switch. There's a promise, and then down the road, rates rise, capitation rates rise, and that savings potential is lost. And I think that's where the genius of the global cap comes in, because it really does impose a discipline, which, just so you know, the local-state relation, Jason raised with me before we started today. He said, you know, what are you doing? Are you watching that cap? And we are. And so I think, all in all, our feeling is it's very much a work in progress. There's a lot of unresolved issues, as Bruce indicated, and that we are particularly concerned about people who are caught between various other entities in the social services world, and how are we making sure that those bridges are connected. And going forward, I think that's what we're going to continue to be focused on. And I think that the people in the room should understand the extent to which the direction from the mayor's office to the city has been really unequivocally participate, give, follow up with information, but be in the discussion and be in a constructive, supportive way in that discussion so that we can together help the state achieve the goals that it's trying to achieve.